The first thing Jalene noticed was the silence. Not the kind that settles after midnight, but the sharp, uneasy quiet that cuts through daylight. It followed her like a shadow the moment she stepped out of her car, boots crunching over the gravel at the Carden Hill gas and shop on the edge of Clearbend. She hadn't planned to stop here. She didn't like the location, too exposed, too quiet, too many stares from the windows of the adjacent diner where the morning regulars sipped bitter coffee and traded the day's first judgments. But the tank was low, and drill weekend was 2 towns away. She needed gas, and a protein bar. She moved with purpose. Her uniform was crisp, badge clean, patches aligned. She was tired from the night shift before drills, but her back stayed straight. She'd done this 1,000 times. Swipe the card, pump the gas, go inside, grab something quick. But that day, it didn't go that way. She had just pressed the nozzle into the tank when a voice barked from behind her. "Ma'am, I need to see some ID. Now." The first officer was tall, his stance stiff with something performative. A second emerged from a patrol car nearby, younger, twitchier. Jalene blinked. Her mind worked faster than her face could show. She didn't move. "Is there a reason you're stopping me?" "You're in uniform," the first one said, like that was a crime. "This is federal attire. We've had reports of impersonation. Need to verify." Jalene didn't sigh. She didn't argue. She'd been trained for worse. "My military ID is in my wallet. I'll reach for it, slowly." "No need," the second one interrupted. "You got a commanding officer? Call them. Now." She knew this was off. She also knew better than to resist. Every move mattered now, not just for her, but for whoever might be watching. And someone was watching. Across the parking lot, a woman in scrubs had frozen mid-step, phone halfway raised. A kid in the back seat of an old Civic pointed through the window. Inside the store, the clerk's gaze darted between Jalene and the officers. Jalene pulled out her phone and tapped the screen with calm precision. "Colonel Graves?" she said when the line picked up. "It's Staff Sergeant Ward. I'm at a gas station near Carden Hill. 2 local officers are questioning my status. Can you confirm me?" The silence returned, but it was charged now. She turned on speaker. Graves didn't miss a beat. "This is Colonel Graves. Jalene Ward is an active reservist in good standing. You're speaking to her commanding officer. Is there a problem?" The older officer hesitated. The younger one flinched. That's when the woman in scrubs hit record. The video lasted 42 seconds. It was shaky, wind muffling some of the audio. But the scene was clear enough. Jalene in uniform, composed, surrounded by officers who looked suddenly unsure. By nightfall, it was everywhere. Clearbend wasn't ready. City Hall tried to stay quiet. The department claimed procedural misunderstanding. But the damage was already done. Jalene's face, serious, restrained, proud, became the story. She hadn't wanted it. She turned off her phone for a day and drove to her godmother's house in Brislin. They made gumbo in the kitchen and didn't say a word about the news. Not until bedtime. "You gonna speak on it?" her godmother asked, drying the last bowl. Jalene shrugged. "What would I even say? Say what matters." She didn't sleep that night. Not really. 2 days later, she walked into the Clearbend Community Center. A few older vets had invited her quietly. No podium, no press. Just folding tables, black coffee, and the hum of a vending machine no one used. The room was mixed, men, women, black, white, Latino. All silent when she stood to speak. "I didn't want to make a scene," Jalene said. "I wanted gas and a protein bar. But I also knew I couldn't let it slide. Not because I was angry, but because kids were watching." A slow clap started, then stopped when she held up her hand. "I don't want applause. I want change." And change came, sort of. Clearbend PD issued new internal guidelines. All field officers had to complete a bias training refresher. Identification procedures for military personnel were rewritten. And a liaison was appointed between the department and the closest reserve base. It wasn't everything, but it was something. She went back to work, back to drill weekends, back to errands and early mornings. One day, a message came through the new liaison officer, typed with awkward formality but clear intent. From Officer Reeves. "I wasn't there that day, but I watched the video 10 times. I'm sorry. I'm going to do better." Jalene read it twice, then forwarded it to Graves. He replied in one word, progress. But progress didn't fix the whispers. At the grocery store, in line at checkout, she caught fragments. That's her, the soldier from the video. Some spoke like she was a hero, others with bitterness, like she'd stirred something they'd worked hard to keep still. She didn't react. Just walked. Bought her things. Drove home. But the wait lingered. Then, a Saturday morning surprise. The woman in scrubs, the one from the gas station, found her at the local market. "I just want you to know," she said, holding out a hand. "You weren't alone. I saw it. I got your back." Her name was Patrice. That was the first time Jalene smiled in days. The attention started to fade. No interviews. No panels. Just quiet adjustments. But then a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a single page from someone named Alyssa Wren. 19. Newly enlisted in the reserves. She'd seen the video online. "I didn't think I could do this," she wrote. "I always wondered if I'd belong. But I saw you. Calm. Proud. And I knew I could." Jalene held the letter like it might break. She hadn't wanted to inspire anyone. She just hadn't wanted to be erased. One afternoon, Graves invited her to lunch at a roadside diner. It was quiet, except for the hum of an old jukebox that nobody fed quarters into anymore. "You didn't yell," he said between bites. "You let them show their hand. That's why they lost." Jalene didn't say anything at first. Then she nodded. "Yeah," she said. "But they'll try it with someone else. Somewhere else." "Probably," Graves said. "But people are watching now." And they were. Clearbend installed new cameras at the gas station. The department added mandatory retraining before officers returned to patrol. Community liaisons held monthly roundtables with military reps. It wasn't perfect, but it was happening. Jalene stayed off the radar, but not idle. She started replying to messages from young soldiers. She showed up at small events for vets. She wrote letters to the ones who felt invisible. But she also ran again, took road trips, made space for herself. One day, she stood at the edge of a trail on the far end of Brislin, watching the trees shift in the breeze. The sun dipped low, and her phone buzzed in her pocket. Unknown number. A voicemail. She played it. At first, just silence. Then a voice. Male. Tense. "You think this is over? You made us look bad. It's not forgotten." Click. She froze. This wasn't from Reeves. This wasn't official. But it was real. The calm returned, not peace but readiness. She saved the message. Backed it up. Sent it to Graves. Then she stared out into the trees again. The air felt colder now. She turned. Walked back toward her car. And didn't notice the figure watching from the other side of the lot. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us grow and lets us keep bringing you more content like this. Plus, you won't want to miss what we have coming next. Trust me, it's going to be good. The voicemail echoed in Jalene's mind. "You think this is over? You made us look bad. It's not forgotten." She replayed it, each word sharpening the unease settling in her chest. She turned, scanning the parking lot. Empty. But the feeling of being watched lingered. Back in her car, she locked the doors and drove off, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. No headlights followed. Still, the tension coiled tighter. At home, she forwarded the voicemail to Colonel Graves. His reply came swiftly. "We'll handle this. Stay alert." But alertness didn't quell the unease. The next morning, Jalene's routine fell off. Her usual jog through the neighborhood was interrupted by a black SUV idling at the corner. Tinted windows concealed the occupants. She changed her route. At the grocery store, a man in a hoodie lingered near the entrance, pretending to browse magazines. When she exited, he was gone. These weren't coincidences. She reported the incidents to Graves. He advised caution and promised to escalate the matter. Days later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a single photograph, Jalene at the gas station, flanked by the two officers. A red X marked her face. She contacted Graves immediately. He arranged for her to stay at a secure location. At the safe house, Jalene met Agent Donovan, assigned to her case. He briefed her on the situation. "We believe a group within the department is retaliating. We're investigating." Jalene nodded, absorbing the gravity. One evening, while reviewing footage from the gas station incident, Jalene noticed something. A third officer, partially obscured, watching from a distance. She paused the video, zooming in. "Agent Donovan, who is this?" He examined the image. "That's Officer Lang. He wasn't reported at the scene." A discrepancy. Further digging revealed Lang's ties to a group within the department resistant to the new reforms. They called themselves the Shield. A secret faction. Jalene's case had unearthed more than just misconduct. Late one night, a message appeared on her phone. "You should have stayed silent." Attached was a live feed of her apartment. She was being watched. Agent Donovan moved her to a new location, increasing security. The investigation intensified. Arrests were made. Lang disappeared. But the threats persisted. One morning, Jalene received an envelope. Inside, a single note. "This isn't over." No signature. She looked up, scanning the street. A figure stood across the road, watching. Then they vanished. Rain pelted the windshield like it was trying to erase everything. Jalene stared at the envelope, the note still echoing in her head. "You were never the first. Be ready when they try again." She didn't drive home. Not yet. She circled the block, adrenaline high, every shadow on the street suddenly more threatening. That note didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a warning. At her apartment, she locked the door behind her, double-checked the windows. She called Colonel Graves. "I got something," she told him, her voice steady despite the storm outside. "Another letter. It's not random." He didn't ask for details. "Bring it in," he said. "Tonight." An hour later, she sat in his office at the reserve base. The letter lay flat between them, the corners still damp. Graves read it twice. "This isn't a prank," he said. Jalene didn't blink. "I know." Graves tapped his pen. "We had something like this 5 years ago. Not public. A reservist was stopped. Wrong place, wrong time. No video. He got bounced around. No charges. No apology either. And nothing came of it," she said. Graves didn't answer. He didn't need to. "This is bigger than a traffic stop," she added. "Someone's been watching, patterning this, and now it's repeating." Graves looked at her grim. "Then we stop it from happening again." But the system didn't move with urgency. It moved with weight. Heavy. Slow. The city had made reforms after her incident, retraining, new policies, even the liaison role. But this was deeper. Older. It was a crack beneath the new paint. The next day the liaison, a former MP named Darnell Yates, called her in. "I pulled older complaints. Quiet ones. Some sealed." "How far back?" Jalene asked. 12 years. Maybe more." He showed her a spreadsheet. Names. Locations. Incident types. Notes that trailed off or disappeared. Most were service members. All had been stopped. Questioned. A few booked. Almost none filed formal reports. "Look here," Darnell said, pointing. "See that one? Happened 3 blocks from where you were stopped. 9 years ago. Woman. Reservist. No footage, but same pattern. They said she was combative. She transferred out within the year." Jalene ran her finger across the row. The name was redacted. "What's her name?" she asked. "Don't have it, but I'm working on it." It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was a pattern. Back at her place, Jalene paced. Every news segment that covered her story had called it a wake-up call. But maybe the system had been hitting snooze for over a decade. That night, another message arrived. This time, hand-delivered under her door. No envelope. Just a torn page. "You're not the only one watching. Be careful who you trust." No signature. No prints. No camera had caught anything. She brought it to Graves. This time he brought in someone else, internal affairs masked as office review. A woman named Kira Voss, sharp-eyed and calm. "This is calculated," Voss said. "Not random. Someone's trying to thread a needle through years of silence." Jalene met her gaze. "Then we pull the thread." Voss nodded once. "We start with Officer Ashby." The officer who stopped Jalene had been placed on administrative leave, but not charged. The footage went viral, yes, but only the aftermath. Not the beginning. The department had never released the dash cam footage. Until now. Voss secured it. Jalene sat in the small screening room, the only sound the clicking of the mouse. The video rolled. Ashby approached her vehicle, calm at first. Then something changed. A glance at her tags. A shift in posture. Words not in the official report. "Nice uniform. Whose is it?" Then came the flashlight in her face. The demand for ID. The sarcastic smirk. Asterisk, "You people love the uniform when it suits." The rain hadn't let up. Jalene sat across from Colonel Graves in his office, the note resting between them on the table like a coiled snake. "You were never the first. Be ready when they try again." The message pulsed in her mind. She leaned forward, voice low. "This wasn't about me. It never was." Graves didn't flinch. He picked up the note with 2 fingers, turned it over like he expected more to be hiding. "This handwriting," he muttered. "It looks like," he paused. "Never mind." Jalene narrowed her eyes. "Say it." He sighed. We had a reservist out of East Point 3 years ago. Female. Got stopped in uniform. No cause. Said something felt off, like it was choreographed. What happened? She transferred. Quietly. The video never surfaced, but I remember the report. She filed it. No one followed up. Jalene stared at the wall behind him. It was covered with commendation plaques, neat rows of official pride. But none of them told that story. She reached out to me, Jalene said suddenly. The one from East Point. That's who left the note. Graves looked up. You sure? She sent another message before. Same writing. I didn't connect the dots. He folded his hands. Then we need to find her. Before they do. 2 days later, Jalene stood in the parking lot of a retired strip mall on the edge of town. A coffee shop had taken over one of the abandoned storefronts. That's where the sender, who signed only as Lena M. had agreed to meet. She waited 15 minutes. Then a woman stepped from a parked sedan. Black coat, hood up, face partially turned. You're early, the woman said. Jalene didn't smile. You sent the note. The woman nodded. I watched what happened to you. It was too familiar. Why not come forward sooner? Lena looked away. Because last time I did, they shut it down. The precinct buried the complaint. The base warned me to stay quiet. I transferred before they could find a way to flag my record. Jalene absorbed the words like a blow. So you've just been waiting for someone else to go through it? No, Lena said firmly. I've been collecting. She reached into her coat, pulled out a flash drive. I've been documenting every incident I could verify. Not just here. Nationwide. There's a pattern, isolated units, black or brown service members in uniform, stopped or harassed. Some filmed, some not. And always the same excuse, mistaken identity. Suspicious behavior. Equipment check. Jalene took the drive. It felt heavier than plastic. Why now? She asked. Because you didn't lose your temper, Lena said. And you weren't alone. Someone finally listened. And because the ones doing this, they're getting smarter. The data on the flash drive was damning. Jalene sat at her kitchen table until dawn, scrolling through reports, statements, emails. Each file added weight to her chest. There was a file labeled Clearbend 12B. Her name wasn't in it, but the description matched her incident exactly, down to the gas station address and the officer's vague justification. The report was dated 2 days before it actually happened. Her blood ran cold. It had been pre-written. She called Graves. This goes deeper, she told him. There was a report about my incident before it happened. They were preparing for it. He didn't speak at first. When he did, his voice was thin. How many? Dozens. Maybe more. He exhaled. I'll call a federal contact I trust. Quietly. No, she said. Loudly. Within a week, a quiet internal investigation became a full-blown inquiry. Federal monitors stepped in. Local officials denied knowledge, but under pressure, documents began to surface. Clearbend wasn't unique. It was one stop on a chain. A test site. Officers involved had received specialized internal memos on unverified military impersonators, all directed to treat verification calls as optional unless on confirmed active base property. Jalene's stomach turned when she read it. That meant her uniform had never been protection. It had been bait. The media caught wind. Jalene's name resurfaced, this time not as the woman in the viral video, but as the one who cracked something larger. Reporters camped outside her building. She stayed inside, but people started showing up for other reasons too. Young soldiers, veterans, civilians who had watched her stand still at that gas station while the system tried to tilt against her. They didn't come with microphones. They came with thanks. Lena M. joined her one morning for coffee again. They're scared, Lena said. I got a call from someone in East Point. One of the officers named in a redacted report. He quit. Jalene stirred her cup. Good. You're not going to stop, are you? Lena asked. Jalene looked up. Not now. The precinct chief resigned under scrutiny. 2 officers were suspended. Bias retraining was no longer optional. A state Senate committee requested Jalene's testimony. She almost declined, but Graves convinced her otherwise. You don't need to perform, he said. Just tell the truth. So she did. Under oath, she spoke clearly and without theatrics. She recounted the stop, the phone call, the silence on the line when her commanding officer confirmed her identity and the officers still hovered. She didn't accuse. She revealed. And it was enough. Weeks passed. The press faded. The headlines turned to something else. But in Clearbend, changes stuck. Patrol protocols shifted. Military liaisons sat at the table during department meetings. The gas station installed a new surveillance system. Not because of what happened, but because of what might have happened next. On a quiet afternoon, Jalene received a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo. A young woman in fatigues, standing in front of a reserve sign in Port Hollow. On the back, handwritten, "Because of you. AR." Jalene smiled, folded the photo carefully, slid it into her journal. Later that week, she went to visit her godmother in Bristlin. They cooked, talked about nothing and everything. Her godmother said the gumbo needed more kick. "You didn't let it sit long enough," she teased. Jalene laughed. It was the first time in months she truly laughed. That night, she sat on the porch, legs tucked beneath her, watching the last breath of light fade from the horizon. Her phone buzzed once. Text from Graves. "Update. Senate just passed the bill. Oversight teams approved for precinct military coordination. Permanent." She stared at it. Progress. Real, slow, painful progress. She powered her phone off. Listened to the night. Not every battle is fought in the streets. Not every voice is raised in anger. Some change the system by refusing to yield, by standing still, by choosing dignity over drama. Jalene didn't need to be a symbol. She was a person, and that was enough.